Welcome back again, guys, from Tampa Bay. Today I've got a review of the 2015 Kawasaki Vulcan S, and this is the extended reach version. They've got three main versions. This one is for, as the sign says, 6'1" and over. It gives you different seat, extended reach on the handlebars, and a little bit more room in the pegs. This is their, I'm not going to say entry level, but mid-level cruiser bike, mainly designed for first-time or beginner riders. Not too many features on it, but it is very customizable. There's a lot of extras that you can install and change. It's got quite a high RPM while it warms up here. I'm the first one out. Pretty comfortable seat. Very good low-speed stability. Good low-end torque, very smooth motor. Kind of feels like a little putt-putt V-twin. Doesn't have a thump at all. Just kind of grinding away. Riding position is kind of a mix. I like the reach of the bars and the pegs. Very good low-speed stability. Don't even have to put a foot down. Very light front-end steering. I'm surprised because it has quite a bit of rake on it, but it feels like a tiny little bike. Front end feels like it weighs 2 pounds. Absolutely no resistance to turning. Normal turn signals. Non-self-canceling. Now the seat itself, it's got quite a bit of cushion on it. I'll let you know what I think at the end of this ride. Should be about 20-25 minutes. See if I have any pressure points at all. But the position, as I was saying a little earlier, it's kind of weird. The arms are very much like a standard cruiser. Straight out in front of you. A little bit of an elbow bend. However, the seating slope is angled down, kind of like an adventure bike. Mid-range is a little wispy. It's got a good little low-end kick. It's not all at once. And then it just kind of airs out. I'll see what the top end is like as we get out on the road. But it definitely has a little bit more power down low. It's not a big torque monster. Don't think of it like a big V-twin cruiser. It's riding much more like a standard 600 to 800 cc naked bike. The shifter is actually a little hard to shift. It has quite a bit of throw, and I've missed a couple times shifting up. There's absolutely no feel in the foot. I don't know if the linkage is just not allowing a lot of play and feel or what, but you throw the lever and there's no click, there's no thunk, there's nothing. So you don't know if you hit the top, and when it actually hits the limit, it just feels rubbery. The whole peg kind of bends a little bit. It's not terribly stiff and hard. See if you can see that. This is actually at the limit right here, and then I can just bend it. It's just kind of rubbery. So not the most confidence-inspiring shifter. It'd be a lot better if that was just a more precise fit. But the transmission itself is shifting beautifully. Very smooth. Like I said, no clunk, no nothing. You don't even know it shifted to the next gear. Very smooth engine. I have no vibrations whatsoever in the bike. Butter smooth bars, mirrors, seat, frame, foot pegs, everything. You wouldn't even know it's running. Really feels like an electric bike. So I'm in top gear. We'll do a little roll on from 50 here. Not bad. You really hear the intake on this. I cannot hear the exhaust at all. Of course, there are aftermarket options for that if you want some sound out of it. Just makes a, I don't know if you're going to hear it, but what I hear is a hollow kind of howl out of the intake, like, oh. That's it. Dashboard is pretty easy to read. Got a nice sweep tachometer. Although through my visor, I can't really see where the red line is. Okay, it's 9.5. There's like a red shaded area. You guys are probably going to see it easier than I do. There's a lot of glare on the tachometer plastic itself. There's just a kind of a dark red shading there. So 9.5 red line. Under that we have a nice digital speedometer. Got an odometer. We've got a little eco display down here, kind of like Yamaha does. Doesn't mean a thing. Very good brakes. They're nothing phenomenal by looking at them. Just a single in the front, single in the back, but it's such a lightweight bike that it stops it right now. A little bit of a spongy feel on the lever, but I'm not arguing with the performance. Very easy to find neutral. Does have a bit of a clunk going into first. Not a problem though, it's to be expected. Got a fuel gauge. I'm sorry, that's not an odometer, but that's a fuel range. I can see range now. Clock and a fuel gauge. We have an adjustable brake and clutch lever. I like that. Hazards, bright, horn, and that is all she wrote on controls. So no extras. Non-adjustable suspension. I'm not going to call it soft. It is actually very good. It's not stiff like a sport bike, but it's not soft like an adventure. I can stand up on this and have, oh geez, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of clearance. It's a very low seat, even with this extended reach seat on, which I believe is a little bit taller. Might be mistaken on that. But I sat on the, man, I can't think of one. The really short version. That was way too small for me, but that felt shorter, just sitting on it. No vibration sitting here at idle. You can rev it up and just kind of feel the ticking of the engine. You can barely even hear it. All I hear is the intake, maybe a little bit of a tick out the exhaust. And that is about it. I'm going to run it through the gears a little bit here. Nice sound. Sitting here at 7,000 RPMs. Sounds like a nice little sport bike. Nice growl. Still sounds like more intake noise, but it's a nice noise. Very smooth. There's no buzziness. No gear indicator, so you got to count. (3,000 RPM cruising down at 40 miles an hour. Plenty of torque. A little bit of a shake coming through the bars when you're this low and you get on it, but the engine doesn't feel like it's lugging at all. Suspension on the back, I'd have to see if there's some kind of adjustment, but it is a little bit jarring for my weight. I'm 6'2", 250 pounds, 32-inch inseam. It's kind of beating me up in the butt a little bit over these little bumps, and these roads are excellent quality. But it doesn't really want to soak them up. It may be set a little too stiff. If it does have some adjustment, you can hear me kind of hit these bumps and it's like, That's kind of unusual. Certainly not how I would set up a bike. Feels very nice in the corners, and these nice slow sweepers. Very soft. Flicks right in. No problem wanting to turn. I suppose this would be comparable to the Yamaha or Star Bolt, and I have to say this is leaps and bounds above it in engineering, in my opinion. Overall, I mean, both of them have little faults that I can see, but the way this rides, it feels like a very modern bike. Feels very responsive and a lot lighter than it probably actually is. Whereas the Bolt feels the opposite. Very good acceleration. Very responsive. It really feels more like a sport bike than a cruiser. So if you're going to put this in any kind of category, bear that in mind. This is not something, this is more like a little brother to the Indian Scout. That's exactly what I'm feeling. It feels lighter, less powerful, but a lot cheaper. But more towards the sport bike category than cruiser. These are wide open throttle pulls, by the way, so you can see what it's got. I'll do a first gear wide open at this light. Definitely not going to pull any kind of wheelies or anything like that. Doesn't have that kind of power. And it's long and heavy. However, it does have more than enough power to scoot down the road. You can bolt on a passenger seat too. And it certainly has more than enough power for that. So here we go, first gear, full throttle. So there's 0 to 60, just into second. See, I can't tell. I was missing a top gear there. Just did not want to shift. Really don't care for the shifter. That's the only thing bugging the heck out of me right now, and it's just the way the linkage works. It's not the transmission itself. Must have bumped the mirror there or something. Mirrors themselves, not too bad. They're small, but they do have good coverage. I have about a quarter of my vision blocked by my arm, and other than that, it's all road. I looked at them just looking at the bike, and I thought they would be terrible. They looked very small and narrow, but they are out wider than they appear, probably because they have that big chunky bezel around them. And of course you can get them in chrome and all kinds of other stuff too, but they are working just fine. I have no problem with them. Man, I'll tell you what, top gear especially, coming from just below, the throw is even shorter than normal, and it is super hard to miss that one. I got another rider group in front of us, deciding where to go. Very nice suspension for around town, I must say. Aside from that rear, which I think is just set too hard for my weight, it's performing well. Around the corners, it's great. Doesn't have a lot of nosedive when it's braking. Clutch feels very good. It's not a super light or super tight pull. It's not a hydraulic, but the springs are good on it. Now the seat comfort. Had a little bit of time on here. I'm getting a little bit of a pressure point right on my tailbone. So some of you may feel the need to put on a different seat. I think it has a lot to do with the angle. Most of my weight is on the rear of my butt because of the way this is sloped forward just a little bit. So I almost want to fall into the tank. What it's doing is making me lean a little bit forward. It's a very neutral position on my back. I don't have any actual lean forward pressure on my hands or anything, but it's affecting the way my butt is sitting on the seat. I don't have any support underneath the front of my butt or my thighs or anything like that, like a typical cruiser. It's cut out nicely so I can put my legs down on the pavement without a problem, and obviously it's a very short bike, but it's just not quite the ergonomics that I want in a seat. So if I'm feeling it now, I know for a fact that's not something that I could live with on a bike. Oh, see, now when I stand up and take pressure off, oh, it's immediate relief right on my tailbone. Ow. That's the way my stock seat of my FJR felt. I know this feeling, unfortunately. Good thing is, hardly any bikes have that problem. Let's play around a little bit here. It's got a great sound up high. Really smooth. There's no buzz or vibration up top. This is an engine that likes to be revved out. It's just got her hazards on in front of me. You can definitely have fun carving corners, even going through the city on this. This is not your typical cruiser, so I like it. This is probably something my wife would like. She last rode a Sportster 883, so she likes the size of a bike, but she didn't care for most of the aspects about it being a cruiser. But I think this is kind of in between, or it might be something she's interested in. So if she ever feels like test riding another one, I'll have her come up and try one of these. First gear was really short. What was that, about 45 miles an hour at redline? So that's why it's got good acceleration. It's a short gear. Like I said, not a lot of power in the engine, but the transmission is geared for it very well. I don't have any spots here where I feel like it's lugging. I only felt that little bit of a dip in the mid-range just going through first, but once you wide open, it goes through it so quickly, you don't even know it's there. There we go. Up into top again. Very smooth downshifts. The other thing I'm not digging about these forward controls, and that's just me, I'm not a fan of forward controls, is that when you have your foot on it and you're gearing for downshifts, your foot naturally wants to slide down. It's not so bad when you've got it resting on the peg waiting for an upshift, but it's just the angle of where everything is. When I put my foot over top, I got to really stretch my ankle back, and then my foot wants to slide down off the peg. There's nothing to grab it. So I've got my foot sticking out the side here, and I just kind of flick it back and forth where I want it, but I pretty much have to hold my foot in midair to do a downshift, and that's not entirely comfortable. If you had especially slippery boots on, you'd notice it more. I don't have much tread on these boots, but it barely holds. You can say it's not a really grabby foot peg. Very responsive engine. Have to say, at all RPMs, it's fun. It's not going to rip your arms off. It's not going to win a drag race, but it's not boring. It's not like a lot of other cruiser style bikes where, man, you get halfway through the rev range and you might as well shift because there's nothing left. This is not like that. And I think we were supposed to stop there. I don't think these guys are quite familiar with Florida law. I didn't feel like jamming on the brakes with the one behind me, but we have to stop at all crosswalks. Sorry about that, pedestrians. A lot of times with these demo rides, the crew is obviously from another state, usually California. This is not the same demo ride that we did last year. I have to say last year's was a little bit better. Less lights. This has less traffic, but more stops. I'd rather be on 2-lane roads and just be able to keep going. Even if it's a big 15-mile circle, that's fine. Not a whole lot else to say about this. Like I said, it's a basic bike. I mean, there's not much to it. But this is how it rides. This is what it's got. So we're going to head back in and complete the run. Thanks a lot for watching. This has been the 2015 Kawasaki Vulcan S Extended Reach. I'm Brian Glenn with TwoWheelObsession.com. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.